What's going on, everybody? Ryan Hickey here. So a few weeks ago, we discussed Russell Westbrook and his demands to get traded from the Rockets. He was concerned about their future, didn't want to be part of a rebuild, and thus wanted to be traded to a title contender. At the time, James Harden said he was locked into the Rockets for this upcoming season, wouldn't want to be traded. Well, here we are a few weeks later, and James Harden has made it known that he wants to be traded, he doesn't want to be part of the Rockets rebuild, and also has one specific team he wants to get traded to, the Brooklyn Nets. He wants to team up with Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving to form a big three in Brooklyn. Now I'm going to need a smart basketball mind to explain to me how this trio works and how they win a title together, because there's a few areas I look at with major concern that has me thinking this big three in Brooklyn won't be successful. Let's start from the leadership perspective. We always hear, and the biggest defense so far of this big three working in Brooklyn is that we've had the same concerns about previous big threes in other areas that have eventually worked out well and won a title, right? Boston back in 2008, you had the Miami Heat when LeBron James teamed up with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. Obviously, most recently, you had the Warriors, KD, Steph, and Clay. All three ended up working out really well. All three won titles, if not multiple titles together. But here's a difference between the Brooklyn Nets, if this current big three is constructed, and those previous big threes. There's a massive leadership void that Brooklyn has that those other places didn't have. Let's look at the Heat. Miami had LeBron James running the show. He was the top dog that everybody else followed. So sure, it was a big three of him, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh. But LeBron James was the unquestioned leader. He was the guy when the going got tough, took a hold of the team, and guided them to smoother waters. In Golden State, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Steve Kerr built a culture of team-first attitude, so when Kevin Durant got there, Steph Curry's leadership was displayed by taking a step back, welcoming Kevin Durant, making him feel like the main guy, the number one option on offense, and that helped Kevin Durant feel comfortable in Golden State. So Steph's leadership, taking a step back, worked well for the team, KD fit in the culture, and from there, that's why they're successful and won multiple titles. Look at this big three of KD, Kyrie, and Harden. Where is the leader? Kevin Durant, we've seen in previous years, he's very passive-aggressive with the media, he's very quiet, and really not confrontational. Kyrie Irving, let's call it for what it is. He's a bad teammate. He throws others under the bus, doesn't take responsibility, and doesn't seem like the guy, if things get tough in Brooklyn, will be the one to right the ship, will be the vocal leader to guide this team out of their possible malaise. And James Harden, he is very quiet, and when things get tough, he almost seems disinterested. Like he just wants them to go away without really trying to address the problem head on. So I have significant questions about their leadership. Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, I don't really see any of those three as a true leader who takes control of this team when things go wrong, especially in a big media market that is New York. So leadership has me very concerned that this big three will be successful in Brooklyn. How about cohesion on the court? So far in previous stops, Kyrie, Harden have showed they really can't play nice with others. Kyrie wanted out of Cleveland, didn't want to play with LeBron James anymore. Goes to Boston, talks about how much he likes Boston, wants to be with the Celtics for a long time. He's going to resign there. But as we saw, he couldn't really get along with the young core that was developing. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Gordon Hayward was also there when Kyrie was there. He can never really play nice with others. And also, the Celtics played better when Kyrie was hurt and off the court. So he didn't really play well, whether it was with LeBron or whether it was in Boston. James Harden with the Rockets had multiple partnerships that can never work out on the floor. Dwight Howard and him can never get that marriage to work out. Chris Paul and Harden had the most success on the court. They hated each other so much off the court that partnership ended early, maybe sooner than it could have. Chris Paul traded. Who did they get back in that trade? Russell Westbrook. That duo really could never get on the same page and never really worked out too well in Houston for Harden and Westbrook. So Kyrie and Harden both have shown that they really haven't been able to play nice with others when it comes to sharing the ball and working well with the offense. Not to mention, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, both ball handlers, both love controlling the offense, both work best off the dribble. So if they're on the court at the same time, which you'd assume they would be, I don't see how that works out from an offensive perspective when they both are on the court at the same time. And because you have to trade for James Harden, you are gutting your team of important role and bench players that really could be a key factor in postseason and finals games. Karis LeVert, a young and up-and-coming star in the making, will be gone in this trade, you'd assume. Spencer Dinwiddie, an awesome point guard, a great guy off the bench that can get you some immediate buckets, you assume would also be traded for James Harden. So you would lose two key role players that you would really need in terms of some big postseason and maybe even some finals games where we see the bench and the role players really have their biggest impact. So for me, look at the totality of a James Harden trade where you'd have a dynamic trio of Harden, KD, and Kyrie. I really don't see this working in Brooklyn. To me, the Nets are very close to title contention as is, and this Harden trade would hurt their chances to win the title, not help it.